Hey everybody, what's going on? If you watched last week's video, you know that I put in some underlayment that's kind of a mess. So, and it was my fault. I did not dig into the high spots and low spots of this floor and thoroughly check the level of this floor like I should have. I just assumed, and that's not good. I have the experience to do this. Unfortunately, this is my own kitchen floor that I've walked on for many years. I've even installed flooring months before that we had just pulled up and removed. And I knew of one issue with this floor, and I think the problem was I just became too focused on that to realize the grand issue. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to show you how to find the high spots and the low spots in your floor before you put down self-underlayment. You're going to do this thoroughly. You're going to make sure that you know exactly what's going on with the floor, and maybe even self-leveling underlayment is out of the picture. Maybe you can't even use that because the floor is just so out of level to begin with that it can't be corrected. Hi everybody, I'm Jim Deerdorf and this is Detroit DIY. Let's get started. Here's what we're going to need. We're going to need a laser level. This is just a Bosch GLL30. Nothing too fancy, it gets the job done. This particular unit shoots a laser 1 1/4 inch above a level surface. So what I've done is I've taken this stick and I've marked it at 0, which is 1 1/4 inch, and then I've high and low and 5/8 of an inch either way, just so I can see exactly what's going on this floor. There are 1/8 inch increments that I've drawn on this stick, so I have a good idea what's going on with my floor. So the very first thing we want to do is locate the highest spot in this floor. I'm going to show you how we're going to do that right now. So what we're going to do is we're just going to put our laser level anywhere on the floor. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to set it right here, point it out kind of on an angle. Now I'm going to take this stick and I'm going to start just checking to see the height of the floor. And this will allow me to do this in multiple places, provided I'm not standing in the way. So let me get the camera down here and show you what's up. So as you can see here, we are about 1/8 of an inch low from where the laser is sitting. And we want to just go in multiple areas. So it's the same thing here, we're about 1/8 of an inch low. And if we go over here, we're about 1/16 of an inch low. So what we want to look for is high spots. So here I'm in the middle of the floor and we are at 0. So at this point in time, I know that where my laser is sitting and those two spots that I just checked in between are a little bit lower. So if we move to here, I'm still at 0. And here, all the way on the other side of the room, I am 5/8 of an inch higher than that side of the room. That is not good. This will not be able to be leveled, but it can be flattened. And that's what we're going to focus on now, is how to get this floor flattened. The reason it can't be leveled is because I would have a 5/8 of an inch step up at my hallway, and that's just not acceptable. So let me show you that. Now that I've determined this is the highest spot in the floor, and it continues on. It's a little bit lower here, not much, about 1/8 of an inch than it is here. So we're going to bring that laser and we're going to set it right here on this highest spot. So now with the laser sitting in the highest spot, I am over here at my hallway opening, and what I have is 5/8 of an inch. So if I lift this stick up, you can see to get to 0, that is where my floor would need to be. That is unacceptable. So what I can do is flatten it, and that's what we're going to focus on, is flattening this floor. It doesn't matter if the floor is leaning a little bit you know, 5/8 of an inch from one side to the other, provided it's flat. So we're going to get it flat and go from there. This is the area that I knew I had an issue from the start. And as you can see, there's quite the gap right here. And that gap goes all the way almost to the end of the level here, from and up to in here, just off of the, almost off of the screen. But as you can see, we're level. So one would think that all we have to do is fill that in and we're going to be good, right? Well, that's not the case at all, because over on the far side of the level I have a large gap, and if I push it flat, you can see what the level's doing. So that means that the high side of the floor would actually have to come up higher than it already is to attempt to get something done here. And now we're not even level anyway. So that tells me that we need to investigate back further. This also tells me that we have a hump in the floor that needs to be ground out. Okay guys, I've looked this floor over thorough, and I think it would be easier for me to explain to you what's going on in my particular situation with a couple of little quick sketches that I made up. So let's have a look at this. So that dotted line represents the plane or the grade of my hallway, which would end right here. The existing floor, and this is an addition that was put on about 25 years ago, is about 5/8 of an inch high here, and it was about a 1/2 inch low here. So the problem with this started with the foundation, and they did not correct it. Maybe they found the problem with the foundation. I hope they used a level when they put this thing on. They had to have known that the foundation was not level. And I guess they just said, screw it, let's build on top of this unlevel foundation, and we will fix the floor with underlayment once we're done. But there is no fixing this floor. To make it level with underlayment, like I say, we can make it flat. So they came in with underlayment, Ardex, I do believe, and they fixed this low spot. However, when they hand troweled it, they created a slight hump right there just outside, then a dip, and then a much higher hump. And then maybe they decided they couldn't correct it, and they turned it into that valley that I just showed you with my level. So, as you can see, this floor is a mess. So what I need to do is I need to come in and I need to grind this down, and I need to grind this down just a little bit, so that what I can get is a straight line from here to here, or you know, it won't be a level line, it'll just be a straight line without having any humps in the middle. So I need to lower those two high spots, and what I need to do now is mark them out exactly so I know where to lower them, and that's what we're going to do right now. This straight line that runs across the floor right here represents the center of the room. So, and you can kind of see it here where I put the tile in the first place. There's little remnants of it left. So what I need to do is make absolutely certain that what I know is a high spot in the floor is at least 1/4 of an inch lower than the highest area in the floor. Mia's helping me out a little bit. So let's get down there and check that out. So this is the center of the floor, and according to this, we are almost 1/4 of an inch lower than we are over there at that highest area. So I think I may not have to grind this down. What I'm going to do is get a straight edge in here and run it from one side to the other and look and see exactly what is going on. Now I do have an 8-foot straight edge, but I certainly would like to have something that would reach the distance of this floor right here, which would be 12 feet. So I may try and figure something else out, because I'd certainly like to see a 12-foot stretch across here. But an 8 would be very beneficial, so I'll see what I'm going to do. So what we have here is an 8-foot screed. It is a straight edge, it's a combo, it's a float slash screed. And what I want to do is I'm just going to take my putty knife and run it up under here. And as you can see from where it's sitting there, we are incredibly low right here by about 1/4 of an inch. And it's the same thing quite a way down. It gets fairly snug about right here. So, and it's the same thing through here. It's quite, and I can slide this under even in this highest spot, which kind of surprises me. I did not think I would be able to do that. The only place I can no longer slide it under is at the very end where it's touching. So I've marked out 8 feet right here on my floor, which is the length of this screed. And what I want to do is just take a couple of shims, and I want to slide them in here and get it to where I'm not lifting the screed, but where it's the thickness that I would need. So then I'm going to lift up the screed and slide it the rest of the way to the wall, being this representing the thickness of the concrete to get that flush. Then what I want to do is run my putty knife underneath of this all the way through and see if there's any areas that it's touching or high areas that may need to be lowered. So as you can see, as we get into these higher areas, it's really close, but it's not touching it. Here we're good, we're good, we're good. It's really not touching until I get right down here to the other very end. So what I'm going to do is about every 2 feet across this entire floor, I'm going to run this same check. And if it all turns out to be where everything is lower than this straight edge, then I'm going to go ahead and start putting my material in. We are between the lines of level, but we are slightly downhill on this side. So that's kind of promising in all regards to what's going on here. That's kind of promising. I've moved over here to where I know that this high spot is increasing. So it's not so bad over here on this by where my knee is, but it gets worse as we go. And I've chipped some of this out right here just to kind of get an idea of how high we actually were. So I've got that end of my screed shimmed up to correspond with the 1/8 inch of self-leveler that I have over there. And as you can see, I am not touching right here. That is not good. If I apply some pressure here, you can see that it's rocking, and I am touching right here. So there is no doubt in my mind that this area through the center of this floor is going to have to be ground down. So I'm just going to continue on. Since I know that I have a good idea where the high area is, I do not want to grind, you know, stuff out that I don't need to, just to put stuff back. So as you can see, I am 1/4 of an inch too high. Now if you rock it, it's rocking right here on this section, which is just a little a little bit towards the camera center of the room, 3 inches or something like that. So what I would do is just to save myself some, you know, a little bit of time, is not just try to concentrate on a 6-inch spot right here to grind it down or something like that. It'll be a lot broader. I'll probably go about 2 feet, you know, maybe 3, 1.5 feet each direction from this where it's rocking. So I'm gonna, like I say, just keep going and finding these high spots so that I can kind of get me a layout on the entire floor of what I need to lower down. In between trying to figure my floor out here and getting everything leveled, I pulled my stove out and took up this last little bit of tile and cleaned the adhesive off the floor. And the floor is so unlevel underneath this stove. It probably has a 1/4 inch drop in that area right there. In fact, they put a wire mesh on top of the wood, and I can actually see the pattern of the wire mesh there, and there's actually some exposed wire mesh right there. So the material on this side is so much thinner than on that side. Guys, I just really wish there was a way on this camera I could show you how messed up this floor is. And it is messed up. And the sad thing is I know who did this floor, and it's hard to believe that this is the work that they did, and I'm a little blown away by that. But it is what it is. I just truly wish there was a better way for me to show you all the dips. And I mean, here's an indication right here. My stove is sitting here, and it wobbles like this. That's just that's so bad. My table does the same thing. There's so many dips and humps in this floor. It's sickening. So I'm gonna get the rest of this figured out, and we'll go from there. As you can see, I've got a bunch of plastic hanging up, and I'm getting ready to start grinding down these high spots. I'm going to use a 4-inch grinder with a diamond wheel on it. I decided to do it this way because it's not that extensive. But I will stress, put the plastic up, because this dust will go everywhere. It'll get in everything, in every cabinet, on every dish. For the 2 or 3 hours you're going to spend putting this plastic up, is going to be way more efficient than spending 2 days cleaning the dust out of your house or your room or your kitchen cabinets or your dishes. It makes a mess. So we're ready to go. I'm not going to film any of the actual grinding. There's some high spots that I know I haven't quite discovered yet, but I need to get this main area taken care of first, and then I'll use my level and my straight edges and check and see for other high spots as I go. So when we get this done, we'll come back and have a look. The grinding is finished. I wound up grinding a whole lot more in this area than I thought I would have to. I've ground a little bit right here and a little bit right here. And then there's two other spots over in that far corner. There were 2 areas and one underneath this rug. And I'm getting ready now to put some self-leveler in here. Not necessarily to try and level it, but to fill some of it up. There is a valley where that caulk line is, and I need to correct that valley. So I've got my primer down, and I'm waiting for that to dry. Once it does, I'll go ahead and I'm just going to put in like 1/8 of an inch and spread it out, and then I'll go ahead and even that area out to meet up with the rest of the self-leveler that I already put in. And that will raise me up high enough back here that I will be able to get a straight flat line across this distance. So we're going to get this done. Before we wrap this video up, I want to show you one other way to find the high spots and the low spots in your floors. If you don't have a laser, but you do have a straight edge, you're going to need one of the two to get this job done correctly. So let's take a look at how you would do it with a straight edge. I have my straight edge here on the floor, and I took a piece of cedar that is really nice and straight, and I've clamped it to my straight edge flush with the bottom. So this is going to give me truly a flat surface across this floor. Now what I want to do is just take this putty knife. I have my marker, and I want to go along through here. This is one of the areas that I ground right here, and just see what I've got. So I've got, you know, about a 1/16 of an inch here. And as far as I can see, that is not enough to worry about. It's just so minute. We're looking for, you know, 1/8 of an inch or more. Now I marked some of the low areas out, but because I ground this high area down, it's all going to change. So now here we have a little bit, about 1/8 of an inch. So I do want to take care of that. And if I slide my putty knife back as far as I can, it stops about right there. So I'm going to take my marker and just mark it right there. Do the same thing on the other side. I cannot get, it stops about right there. So I'm going to mark it right there, and I'll go through and do that, and then I'll move this out about 6 or 8 inches and do it again, do it again, do it again, and then I'll just connect the dots of my low spots, and that's where I'll focus my material to flatten this floor. Alright guys, that's all we got for this time. Remember, if you're going to level your floors, be thorough. Don't make the same mistakes that I did and assume that you know exactly what's going on with this floor. I had no idea it was quite this wavy. I just knew of that one dolly for sure and thought that that was my issue. So be thorough, chuck it, straight edge, laser, make sure you're thorough. I'd like to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed yourself, click one of those videos right there, and we'll see you soon.